After the hour, after we got off air yesterday, after holding in at 49ers camp all summer, Brandon Aiyuk and the team agreed to a 4-year, $120 million contract extension, including $76 million guaranteed for the All-Pro wideout. Aiyuk will now be paid an average of bang on $30 million per year with this new deal. One of 6 receivers all time to average at least that much annually on a single contract. And 5 of those deals got done this offseason. Justin Jefferson tops the list at an average of $35 million. Jeremy Fowler, we had a long back and forth and a number that should surprise nobody. Why was this deal finally able to get done last night?
Yeah, Phil, 2 things. I'm heard Aiyuk wanted to play in games. He didn't want to sit out and hold out of that portion of it. And then he was comfortable with the contract. I was told the major win for him was getting $47 million in guaranteed money in the first 7+ months of the deal. So before April 1st, he is due that cash. He considered that a victory, something he can hang his hat on and be comfortable with. And really part of the issue why this took so long is because Aiyuk was willing to be traded to 2 teams, essentially. Pittsburgh Steelers, who had the parameters of a deal already worked out with San Fran. San Fran just didn't pull the trigger on that. And then Washington. He wanted to play with Jaden Daniels with the Commanders. Washington never got heavily involved. And so after that, it just became weeks of staring at each other. But finally, it came to a point, I think, with this weekend coming, it was time to check on the business and get it done.
Yeah, they did have the extra day featuring on Monday Night Football. But, Mina, this is a team that was a whisker away from winning the Super Bowl.
Right.
What was your reaction to where the 2 sides finally landed on this deal?
Duh. I mean, this was the logical, most obvious resolution, in part because of what you just said. This team is a Super Bowl contender. Never really made sense to me that they would move on from their #1 wide receiver this season. It also doesn't make sense because of what Brandon Aiyuk does for this offense. On 3rd down, on throws over 20 yards, on throws outside the numbers, on throws that take over 3 seconds, he has led this Niners group of skill players in yards per route run and target share. Essentially, when Brock Purdy needed Brandon Aiyuk, whether it's because of situation or because of the level of difficulty of the play or is he extending, he has been his option. He is the reason why this 49ers offense not only stresses you in the run game, but also compromises you vertically. It made no sense to me that they would move on from him. This was the most logical resolution, and I'm glad that it's finally done, mostly just because we no longer have to talk about
it. Our national nightmare finally is over with Brandon Aiyuk and this contract. He's going to give opposing defenses fits, though, for the 49ers, because he is a player who excels not just within the Shanahan system, but he transcends it. We have stats at ESPN that record receiver tracking metrics across different next-gen data. One of those is open score, which tracks how open you get on a route-by-route basis, whether you've thrown the ball or not. Brandon Aiyuk ranked 8th in that metric last year, and the other starting receiver in this offense, Deebo Samuel, who we all think is a great player, ranked 128th by the same measure. This is not just a thing where the offense is getting Brandon Aiyuk open. He is getting himself open and making plays with the ball in his hands. But what this really means to me is it just reinforces how all in the 49ers are to win a Super Bowl this season with their quarterback, Brock Purdy, making less than $1 million per year. Because next year, we all know he's getting a massive raise, likely north of $60 million per season. And now there's another expensive contract on the books that the Niners can't move on from to accommodate Purdy. So if you're one of the players who is not Brandon Aiyuk, you're wondering about your future. Guys on defense like Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga are going to be free agents next year. On offense, Deebo Samuel himself, George Kittle, entering the final year of their deals next year. And then, of course, Trent Williams, the starting left tackle, whose status for this year, let alone next year, seems totally uncertain.
Well, let's go right there. I mean, job not done for San Francisco, Jeremy. Trent Williams, 3 times in a row, he's been a first-team All-Pro. What are you hearing about where things stand with that left tackle?
Yeah, Phil, the 49ers have work to do. I'm told Trent Williams is not happy, and the threat of him missing games is real. A lot of times that's a negotiating ploy. I don't sense it is right now. He's made $150 million in his career. He's got no guaranteed money left on his deal. He's the 4th highest paid left tackle right now, despite being the best the last few years, and he feels like this could have been addressed a lot earlier, and San Francisco sort of balked on it. So he's going to make them wait even longer. They have had some talks Nothing had heated up as of last night and this morning, but the 49ers have a couple days here before they officially start week 1 on Monday. They're hopeful to make some progress.
Jeremy, what have you learned about the relationship so far, how it's meshed between offensive coordinator Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts in camp?
Well, Laura, Jalen Hurts needed a new voice. Last year, head coach Nick Sirianni took a hands-on approach, and there was tension between the two. There's just no way around it. This year, Sirianni has taken a hands-off approach, given the keys to Kellen Moore to operate this thing. And I'm told the relationship so far has been really positive because Kellen Moore has sort of an understated demeanor, but he'll also be direct with Jalen. Tell him if he missed a read, he'll let him know, but it's never personal. And so Kellen Moore and quarterback coach Doug Nussmeier have been together for a long time. 3 stops, Dallas, Chargers last year, now together with Philly. So they know what they need out of quarterback play. I'm also told that regime has seen a little bit of Dak Prescott in Jalen Hurts, that he can deliver from the pocket, but he's also at his best when he's moving around a little bit.
Yeah, Mina, that kind of gives you a little peek of what we may see. What are you most interested in when it comes to what this actual scheme will look like with Kellen Moore now at the helm?
First and foremost, you want to see if Jalen Hurts performs better against the blitz. Jeremy bringing up Dak Prescott is interesting because he's excellent against the blitz with Moore. We'll see if that translates with Hurts because that was probably his biggest issue last year as a quarterback. Another thing, though, I want to see is something that happened last year when defenses didn't fear Jalen Hurts' legs as much because he wasn't as explosive on the ground. They played more too high coverage. And against those looks, the Eagles went from 3rd in success rate, 6th in EPA per play in 2022. Second half of last year, they were 12th and 13th. It felt like they didn't have answers against those looks, the same way they did the year before. A lot of that had to do with Jalen Hurts as a runner. If that's the case this year, for Kellen Moore, I think the challenge is, can you use Saquon Barkley in some capacity as a pass catcher? Dallas Goedert is another player I'd like to see working that short, intermediate, middle of the field. Because I think defenses are going to play them that way until Hurts shows that he can punish them with his legs, and I want to see if Moore has answers.
Yeah, you mentioned the blitz, and it really feels like that's just not a performance thing for Jalen Hurts. That was a structural issue with this offense under Nick Sirianni the past couple seasons. Obviously, they did a lot of things well on offense, but they didn't have the side adjustments, the hot reads built into the offense that a lot of teams have for blitzes. It was really just, hey, Jalen, if there's a guy on you, get the ball to one of your big receivers and figure it out. And it was a problem for this offense, and teams latched onto it in the second half of last year. His interception rate about doubled over the last 2 years when Jalen Hurts was blitzed versus when he was not blitzed. And so I think for Kellen Moore, this is about giving Jalen Hurts answers in the passing game, giving him solutions to work with, especially in a post-Jason Kelce protection universe, now that he has the ability to make those decisions, have answers after the snap, and make his life easier against the blitz. Don't make Jalen Hurts turn into a magician, take too many extra hits, and hopefully keep him healthy all the way through a deep playoff run in Philadelphia.
I was talking to Nick Saban about Jalen Hurts just the other day. Certainly coached him at a very high level and coached him at times when he wasn't at his best. And he said what he expects to see out of Jalen this year is a huge bounce back just because of the psyche of this player. He is his own worst critic, and he will want to be so much better than he was last season.
Yeah, he's going to practice this week, and we'll just keep taking it from there.
Are you confident he'll play week 1?
Yes. I think I probably put my foot in my mouth speaking too quickly. And it's just, again, this is a day-to-day situation. We'll just keep seeing it as that. He's been at every meeting. So, he knows everything. He's been in the system now for 3 years that he's played it, and the 4th year now. And so, again, he knows everything. He's very on top of it. You can't waste a day complaining about a situation. Just got to make the most of it and keep it moving. And that's what our guys have done. And we're all on the same page. We're all on board with this thing. And so just excited to get to game week.
You know what, in Taylor's defense, it's been tough to figure out. But either way, he's eager to get Jamar Chase back on the field because he has had one of the best starts to his career that we've ever seen. Chase is averaging 82.6 receiving yards per game in his career, the 5th most by a player in his first 3 seasons in NFL history. The only wideouts above him, Justin Jefferson, Odell Beckham Jr., Randy Moss, and Anquan Bolden, quite the company to be in. And Bill, we are now 9 days away from the opener against the Patriots. How concerned are you at this point about this situation getting resolved?
Does seem a little curious that it's gotten to this point, right? Like, certainly both sides should be incentivized to get this deal done, but maybe if you're the Bengals, you think about the past and think, if he misses a week or two, we can survive because we have another star receiver in T. Higgins. And remember, go back to 2022. They had they were without Jamar Chase for 4 games because of a hip injury. They did go 3-1, and over the last 3 years, Joe Burrow's numbers with and without Jamar Chase on the field, to me at least, shockingly similar. Really not much of a drop-off at all, which you would expect when you're missing one of the best receivers in all of football. But that was only a 4-game sample, and obviously the Bengals are better with Jamar Chase than they are without him. But it comes down to missing a game in week 1 to kind of test what Jamar Chase's limits are here. I think the Bengals might feel like they can survive because they have another star receiver to work with.
I felt a heck of a lot better about this situation before I saw that supercut of Zach Taylor. You could see the confidence like leaking out of him as the week went on, talking about whether or not Chase would be there. And I get why Chase wouldn't. Obviously, his value to the team is tremendous because while Bill is correct in noting Higgins has been excellent, he's played well when Chase hasn't been in there, it's also been obvious that the Bengals are moving on from Higgins and they're choosing Chase. But they can't choose Chase if Chase isn't there. The other thing I would say about this is while they have played well without Higgins, they have also had Tyler Boyd in that most of those games, if I remember correctly. And if you take Chase out of the equation, Higgins slides up to your number 1. Suddenly, you're looking at a really young group of pass catchers behind him. Chase has been, by far, over Joe Burrow's career, the leader in target share on 3rd down against the blitz. And he's been such a security blanket for him and also a source of explosive plays in those situations. It would be really tricky to not have him at the start of the season against the Patriots defense, by the way, that for all of the doubts people have about New England this year is still solid on that side of the ball.